I'm John Sim, and this is my AS Media Foundation portfolio evaluation. For my main task, I decided to create a pop magazine. I chose this because I felt like the pop magazine market was one of the most successful and broadest to cover. I'm also the same age as the people that the magazine is targeted towards, making me have more knowledge of what would be appealing to the target audience. My primary research also confirmed that there was a market for a magazine of this genre. In order to find out the target audience for my magazine, I decided to use SurveyMonkey. By doing this, I found out that the magazine should be primarily targeted towards the 12 to 18-year-old age bracket and would be a mixture of both genders, but mostly females. I also found out that most of my target audience would be Caucasian. It is also apparent through my research that it would be targeted towards people within the social grade C2 to B. The majority of my audience is also heterosexual, although some of my secondary audience would be targeted towards a more homosexual target audience. Once I had finally established who my target audience was through asking them questions about their age, gender, social grade, ethnicity, and sexuality, I started asking them about what type of magazine they would like to see. I began asking them how often they read magazines. It is clear that magazines are not something that are commonly consumed by the public, so because of this, I had to ensure that my magazine was unique. I then moved on to what attracts the target audience towards a magazine. The majority of people said that interesting and professional images are what mostly attracts them to the magazine, so I had to ensure that my images were up to a good standard and also had to think about different stereotypes that I will have to connote through my images. For my images, I took inspiration from magazines such as Billboard. After researching into existing magazines, it is clear that Billboard uses one of two different theories in their images. This would be Stanley Hall's 1904 theory, that youths are rebellious, or Laura Mulvey's 1975 theory, that women are only used as sexual objects of desire within the media. I decided to include Stanley Hall's stereotypes in order to follow Bentley's 1997 idea that the creative process should be the making of the new and the rearranging of the old. I chose to follow a lot of common conventions of magazines like Billboard because I know that this magazine is successful, so I knew that I wanted to create my magazine in a similar way in order to attract the target audience. However, although I looked closely at what other magazines were creating in order to ensure that mine matched genre conventions, I decided to take the conventions that I wish to use and make them as original and appealing to the target audience as possible, in order to make my magazine stand out from the rest. One of the main conventions that I decided to follow was that the masthead should be bold and appealing towards the audience and should take up about 1/8 of the overall page. This is important due to the fact that my magazine is a new one and needs to stand out well against the others in the market. In terms of the name of the magazine, I settled upon Upfront. I decided to use this name as this was the most popular with my target audience and the one that I found would be the most effective. The layout of my magazine is very modern and stylistic. I felt like this would fit the pop genre best as the target audience is a younger generation and they would be attracted to this style.